is bit.ly capital D capital H 2024-DRI. Or again, the QR code. We can also bring this back up at the end of it. So.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you.
Now it's there.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for attending the session. So we're here in person, obviously, and our next presenter will be as well. So switching things up a little bit. But my colleagues and I from Georgetown are really excited to be here as part of this panel focused on nurturing the next generation of DH researchers. For some introductions, my name is Suzanne Chase. I am the department head for Digital Scholarship and Technology Services at Georgetown University Library. And I'm here with my library colleague, Megan Martinsen, who's the Digital Scholarship Services unit head, and also our colleague, Skallerup Bessette, who is the Assistant Director for Digital Learning at the Center for New Designs in Learning and Scholarship, which we will refer to as CANDLES. So that's the last time I'm gonna.
You had to say it, not me. That's all I had to say.
I rehearsed. What can I say? But just before we get started, we do want to just shout out that we're here on behalf of a much larger team at Georgetown. The project that we're going to be talking about today was really a large group effort, and you can see on this slide many of our colleagues from both the library and CANDLES who participated in this work that we're going to talk about today. Today we will be talking about a project that we call Digital Research and Innovation at Georgetown, or DRI or DRI, depending on there's sort of a friendly fight. No, that's too strong a word about how we call it. So DRI, it's a pilot program that just wrapped up. So for a little bit of background, so at Georgetown, both the library and CANDLES have been supporting digital scholarship, DH, digitally enhanced research and teaching, for many years. CANDLES began supporting blogs many years ago and has since expanded into other areas of digital scholarship support. And likewise, the library has been supporting this work for many years. We've had a dedicated person in Megan as our digital scholarship services librarian since 2017. And sort of since that time, usage of our DH services has really ramped up. And so we had a collaborative, research to kind of understand the best mode of support for us, and through that decided to form a dedicated digital scholarship services unit in 2022. So that officially started in January 2022, that brought together staff from across the library who was doing DH and digital scholarship work and supporting that work on campus. So we formed a digital scholarship services unit, and Megan now leads that unit. So that really, our goal with that was to increase our capacity for supporting this type of work on campus. And so, again, just throughout the many years, the CANDLES in the library have a long track record of collaboration in this area to support this work at Georgetown. But with the launch of this new unit at the library, we really wanted to expand the types of support we were offering, and also to collaborate more formally with CANDLES. So offering this new program through the DRI pilot was sort of a way to accomplish both of those goals. With that in mind, CANDLES in the library developed a pilot program called Digital Research and Innovation. This launched in mid-2022, and the program offered Georgetown faculty the opportunity to enhance research with digital tools and methodologies, to experiment with emerging technologies, develop new modes of inquiry and scholarship, and creative production. And we invited faculty from across the university to submit, proposals to work with us through this program. We weren't really sure what we would get. We were sort of building the plane as we were flying it. So we put out this call for proposals and offered terms of support for faculty projects from 6 months to 12 months to 18 months. So faculty were able to identify the term of support they wanted, and also, the needs of the project through more of a conversation, identified kind of the right length of support for the project as well. Each project, led by each faculty member, was assigned a project manager from both the library and CANDLES. And then depending on, the needs of the project, the research goals, the outcomes, We pulled from that large team of folks you saw on the previous slide. So, maybe that looked like bringing in a metadata librarian. Maybe it looked like a learning design specialist or a software engineer. We had a big group to pull from to sort of build out the teams for each of the projects, depending on the needs. So the program launched in the fall of 2022, and the support cycle started January 2023. So we just wrapped up in June 2024, earlier this summer, and kind of have been taking stock and doing some assessment work since that time, and also here excited to talk about this with you all. I touched a little bit on this, but again, kind of the three main goals of this program were to help our faculty meet their research, teaching, and project goals in terms of digital scholarship, digital humanities, to develop new ways for the library and Candles to work with faculty and work with each other, and then just to increase the awareness of the support that we were providing. This was coming out of COVID, so there was so much turmoil, lots of change. We had some new faculty hires. There were some new programs being launched at Georgetown. So this was also just sort of a way to reintroduce ourselves and what we were able to offer to the campus. I'm about to turn it over to Megan and Lee, and they're going to talk about 4 of our projects in depth as sort of case studies for what we want to talk with you all about today. But just quickly, we ended up receiving 25 proposals. So we were pretty excited about that number. We ended up selecting 9 proposals. And so these are the other 5 that we're not talking about in depth today. You can see on the slide. So the titles, the faculty leaders of these projects, as well as where they were coming from. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee.
All right. So the first project that we're going to highlight is called Adapting Kafka. We're using the Scalar platform, and Professor Verena Kick, as well as a colleague of hers at the University of Missouri, wanted to really look at the adaptations and translations of Kafka's The Trial. And they wanted to create a resource. And when adaptations include illustrations, operas, movies, television specials, all of that kind of stuff. And so they created a database. So we worked with the metadata librarians an awful lot, and wanted to look at visualizations of it. Currently it is not live online. This is a prototype that we built in Scalar as a proof of concept, and they are exploring other funding opportunities, as well as hosting a digital Kafka conference on Georgetown campus in the fall, which we're really excited about, to be able to network with other people who are doing DH type projects with Kafka, and to talk about the best practices and other ways to approach this, and just to connect and network. Another one is the Centralized Repository for Biological Risk Assessments, which is a very clever acronym, COBRA. This is actually by a biology professor, Professor Michael Parker, who worked with, was it a graduate or undergraduate student? Both. Worked with both graduate and undergraduate students on this archive, which is documents of biological risk assessment. And there has never been a place before where all of these documents were brought together. They're often in government archives, in personal archives, in NGO archives. And so he had been collecting them himself for his teaching, and brought them all together. This is on Omeka as the platform, and a lot of OCR. We're still working on transcribing some of the older documents where OCR was just not possible. And so again, he was also inviting it in within his field and within people who are interested in this. One of the reasons why we chose Omeka was so that people could also contribute documents that they had to create this kind of one-of-a-kind repository.
Perfect. Okay, I will take us into our next example. So this is an example, Meredith McKittrick from our history department, who wanted to incorporate digital humanities into the classroom. So she was teaching a class on environmental inequality, and she felt that students each had a really unique perspective from their hometown, and she wanted them to be able to teach each other. So using the Esri product story maps, each student created a story map about the environmental both justice and inequalities that they found in their own hometown, and contributed to one large map for the whole class. So this was really interesting. The students really engaged and learned from each other in a different way. And this was a great example of us being able to use library expertise. We host all of the Esri products, and I'm the admin for those, and combined with Candle's expertise in how to do a digital project like this in the classroom, how to think your learning outcomes and assessment. So it was a really great example of the benefits that we got from being able to collaborate together on this. And I'll take us through one last example. This one's my favorite.
Yeah.
This is my project that my team works on. So I'm biased, but I love this project. So this is the Digital Index of Duquesne Art by Michelle Wong from our Art and Art History Department. This is a cave system. That's what you see depicted on the map with the wavy lines. That's a cave system. It's a cave system in China that has been painted with various motifs over centuries. And the current index before we made this site was in a book. And when Michelle first brought it to us, it had more post-it notes than I had ever seen in my life. Because scholars are very interested in cross-referencing, you know, what motifs were happening at what dates, where in the cave are they, what dynasty were they painted under. And so by turning that book into a functional spreadsheet of data, we created this new data set that then we put into Tableau. And now with the new site, you're able to cross-reference all of the variables and then see where those caves show up. So in the example there, you're looking at the caves that have those two particular motifs in them, what time they are, where they are in the cave system. So hopefully Michelle will never need to buy stock in post-its ever again. And she's already gotten really good feedback from scholars in the field who are very excited about this. This is also a multilingual project, so it exists in English, so she can use it in the classroom, as well as traditional and simplified Chinese for some political reasons and also wide accessibility. So the entire site is available in all 3 languages. So for wide ability, for folks that are interested in engaging with the original Chinese and in the translation so that she can use it in her undergraduate classroom. Now we'll pass it back to Lee to talk about some of the things we did to make these projects sustainable.
Yeah, 'cause one of the things that's important to note is
Can
that
you check and make sure the microphone's on?
it died.
Yeah, another one's there left.
Yeah, there's another one.
It died. What? Oh, there we go. That's on. Sorry, folks online, and thank you. All right. So one of the things is that we do not have a DH center on Georgetown campus, and as you can see, the services that we offer that would support DH are distributed. So we wanted to really focus on this idea of sustainability: is how can we support DH work in a sustainable way for ourselves and our own workloads, because this isn't the only thing that we do. So some of the things that we focused on, and in particular, this was part of our selection process, is, well, what can we do? Well, we do data analysis and visualization. We do data cleaning and normalization, database design, digital publishing, metadata creation, project planning, website design. These were all skills and expertise that either Candles or the library or both already had. And so we were really able to take stock of what we could do, what methodologies and tools we had already at our disposal to be able to think through what kinds of projects we would be able to support and be successful with.
And at the same time, while we were thinking about what we could do, we also thought about our existing infrastructure. So in the same way we had all of these existing abilities between the two departments, we also had a lot of existing infrastructure that hadn't been packaged in this way that faculty could take advantage of it for their digital humanities projects, but it's there. It worked very well for those things. So some of the things we relied on very heavily was Georgetown Domains, which is our instance of Reclaim Hosting's domain of one's own. So folks were able to put a variety of different projects on their little bit of domain space. Georgetown's had Georgetown Domains for a long time. Lee, I don't know how long Candles has been supporting it, but it's a long time service that the university has had that Candles has hosted, but it was really nice to package it for faculty and sort of give them some guidance about how to put up a website on that web space that they were entitled to. We were also able to leverage a lot of infrastructure that existed in the library. So Digital Georgetown, which is our institutional repository, was able to play host to a new journal that came out of the project, a new OA journal, now lives on our institutional repository. We also have things like DOI minting that's affiliated with our institutional repository, and AP Trust digital preservation. So everything that goes into our institutional repository also gets digital preservation. We also had access to lots of bibliographic data, which became very important in that Kafka project. I've never seen someone so excited about OCLC data that was not a librarian, but they were very excited about it. As I mentioned previously, we also maintain an ArcGIS subscription, which allowed us to do those story map projects. So we weren't doing a lot of new things here as far as infrastructure went. It was about leveraging our existing infrastructure and packaging it in a way that seemed appealing to people and made it seem like it's something that could work for them. And just as we leveraged infrastructure, we also really leveraged existing expertise and services that both departments had.
Yeah, the number of faculty who did not know they could get a website was actually pretty astounding. And Georgetown Domains, as you said, was a longstanding project. So we had all of this infrastructure. We had these hard skills. We had software and hardware. One of the things that we didn't mention is that we do have spaces in the library for mapping, for scanning, for podcasting. That was another one of the projects that we didn't talk about, but and software. So we have this huge suite of tools and technical expertise, but we also really found, as most of you all know, having worked in DH, it was really these soft skills as well, soft DH skills that we were able to bring and leverage, such as scoping, project planning, design thinking. And one of the big ones that came out of the feedback from the faculty that we were working with was the collaborative element of it. And these, again, traditional, none of them were specialists in DH. None of them set out to be digital humanists. They wanted to just make their work and projects more widely available. And so we're usually used to working in isolation. And so the opportunity to collaborate with the library, with Candles, and even other people within the DRI structure was really something that they highlighted was so important, so enriching to their experience in that way.
Okay, and I think we've mostly touched on this one in other areas, so I'll sort of speed through this slide. But again, we were repackaging existing services. These were things that my unit has already been offering, but folks didn't always know about. They didn't always know it was for them. Sometimes it felt like it was just for students. So this really helped us package together our services in a way that made them feel more individualized for the faculty and made it a more empowering place for them to explore these things. So we will end with some lessons learned and some key takeaways. As Suzanne mentioned at the beginning, this was very much flying the plane as we were building it. So we definitely learned some lessons and have some takeaways to share if anyone is interested in trying something like this at your institution, which we recommend. I will say that first. We recommend, but we did learn some things. Hopefully you can learn from us. But first, I just want to cover our outcomes. So from this project, we ended up with 5 websites, 1 prototype, that Kafka prototype that Lee mentioned, 1 brand new scholarly open access journal, 2 NEH grant proposals, 1 scholarly conference coming to our campus, 1 accepted journal article, 39 students in classes that got to experience one of these projects, and 4 students employed on projects to work on these. So pretty nice outcomes for 18 months. But we certainly learned some things along the way. The first being clear communication with faculty participants. As with anything, there was misunderstandings between how faculty described what they thought their project was going to be and what we thought their project was going to be. Some of the proposals we accepted based on one description and sort of found out along the way we were doing a very different project than what had been described because they had a different vocabulary than us and they were describing things in very different ways. Similarly, clear messaging about the program and the call for proposals. We did get some proposals that we had to say no to because they were very much just spitballing, and we need to be more clear in the future that you do actually have to have a real project that you want to work on, not just an idea of a project. We want to help you bring your project to development, but we need you to do a little more work along the way. And then we did have a little bit of confusion of if there was money involved or not. But there was not. You just got time and effort, but no money on this one. Again, expectation setting and time management. This project didn't always take front seat for folks in their long list of responsibilities. And so that's something that we'll work on again in the future, is making sure that our expectations align with the faculty that we work with on how much time will be spent on this. Many of the projects ended up extending to a longer period of time. So I think having more frank conversations in the beginning about what can really be accomplished in 6 months, which not much. So I think having a more frank conversation about faculty who maybe had ambitious timelines. And then finally, we fell prey to the very common unpredictability of some digital tools and content. One of our faculty members had a whole very interesting project based on Twitter data, and you all know what happened there. So that project changed very rapidly, and we were still able to help her and do something, but it was a very different project than what we envisioned. And a helpful example and reminder that many of these tools are outside of our control. So you can't always bank on things continuing to exist. So a potential error there. And with that, I will pass it back to Lee for our grand takeaways.
This is probably the most me slide ever. So, I mean, one of our big takeaways is that we don't have a DH center, and even if you don't have a DH center, it can be done by leveraging what it is and packaging what it is you already offer, and finding those collaborations with the library, with a place like Candles. One of the advantages that Candles has as well is that we are the teaching and learning center. We do the digital learning, but we also do online learning. And so a lot of the things around project management and scoping and timelines we've learned through working with faculty on developing online courses, which is transferable. So again, finding those pockets of expertise and finding a way to bring them together, to package them in a way to faculty to make it more understandable and appealing for them. No funds, that's okay too. Sometimes it is kind of that in-kind work that you were doing with them. And one of the questions that we had is, what would they even spend it on? I'm thinking of some of these projects that are going forward now for an NEH grant, having a very clear idea with their prototypes of what they would spend the money on. But if we had given them that money up front, it wouldn't have been spent as wisely as perhaps it would be spent now with an NEH grant, where they have a much clearer idea of where their project is going and where funds need to be invested. And then finally, is to really embrace that sense of collaboration, that we found that the whole is more than the sum of our parts. None of these projects could have happened without the collaboration between Candles, the library, and that faculty member. And it has been such a joy to see these projects evolve and grow and become what they are. And just learning, again, the opportunity to learn about the research that faculty are doing on our campus, and to be able to make that research more publicly available. It has been really, really a rewarding experience for us. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much for your time. And again, do we want to go back to the beginning? Just if you want to see these slides one more time, I'll bring up the QR code one last time. And the bit.ly, if people want to scan it one more time if you haven't had a chance, or those people who are online, just one more chance to get it out there. But again, we'll be happy to answer questions afterwards. Thank you.